Rap's lost tons of faces over the past 10 years, more than any other period in history. Countless rappers have met tragic early endings, but out of everyone that passed, there are 4 names that stand out from others due to unique circumstances around their careers and how people remember them. Each one of these rappers has a large section of rap fans that refer to them as legends. Normally, in order to get a title like that, it takes a long career in the public eye, constantly producing at a high level. But all 4 of these artists had less than 2 years in the public spotlight and are still given this title. Sometimes more often than other rappers with longer careers in the spotlight who also lost their lives early. So in this video, we'll cover each one of these rappers, their careers, and the narratives that formed after they passed to get to the root of why so many people give them the legend title. The first rapper in this list we'll cover is Pop Smoke. His career in the public only lasted for about 9 months, and his entire career from his first song ever to when he lost his life was barely over a year. He dropped his first song ever in December of 2018. His career in the public eye took off in May of 2019 after dropping his breakout single, Welcome to the Party. His unique voice was a huge part in his appeal, along with the fact that he introduced the UK drill beats that Brooklyn was starting to use to a new audience in America that had never heard them before. His debut mixtape, Meet the Woo, stamped him as one of the bigger rising artists that year, and had his second hit record, Dior. His fame continued to rise throughout the year, shining a new spotlight on Brooklyn drill and convincing many that he was on his way to becoming a superstar. In 2020, Pop Smoke released Meet the Woo 2, which debuted at number 7 on the Billboard 200 and appeared to be a step closer to reaching the star status people were predicting. But just 2 weeks later, on February 19, 2020, he lost his life to a home invasion in Los Angeles. While he was alive, he looked like he was on his way, but wasn't a huge star. He didn't have any gold or platinum records or Billboard #1 album debuts. But his biggest records had made noise, and the context of his career is also very important. New York rap hadn't had an identity since the 2000s. They had occasional stars pop up here and there, like Bobby Shmurda, A Boogie, Cardi B, and 6ix9ine. But with Brooklyn drill, Pop Smoke brought an entire genre to the mainstream. Even though it was on UK beats, it gave New York rap an identity for the first time in over a decade. And with New York City being the biggest city in America and the birthplace of hip hop, this was huge. People felt that Pop Smoke was on pace to take the movement further and become a global star. And all of this played into the story around his name that captured the attention of fans. So in July, when his posthumous album Shoot for the Stars, Aim for the Moon was released, it did 250,000 in first week sales, 214,000 more than the last album Pop Smoke dropped while he was still alive just 2 weeks before he passed, which did 36K first week. So Pop Smoke is an example of a rapper who became a story that took off after he passed, leading many to give him legend status despite only 9 months in the public eye. Next on this list is King Von. He began rapping in late 2018, the public became aware of him in January of 2019, and he met his end in November of 2020. But in this 2-year period, he became one of the most famous rappers in drill history. He started rapping in late 2018 after beating a body and returning home from the county jail. His breakout single Crazy Story was released on the last day of December in 2018 and became an instant hit. People weren't used to storytelling, and Von also had a unique flow, and this allowed the song to gain massive traction online, introducing Von to the public. Through 2019, Von continued putting out music. He dropped his debut mixtape and also got caught up in a serious case in Atlanta. In March of 2020, King Von released LeVon James, his second mixtape. The project was a big step in the right direction, debuting at number 63 on Billboard 200. The project also had the song Took Her to the O, another huge record for Von's career. By this point, Von had firmly established himself as one of the most promising rising stars in the game, with a quickly growing fan base and lots of excitement around his name. 2020 was also the beginning of a huge factor in Von's fame: internet speculation and commentary on his past. He went live often and had a significant presence on social media where he hinted at things he might have done. So with his fame rising, 2020 was when the first documentaries began popping up. This was also when his beef with FBG Duck was getting more attention, with the two dissing each other back and forth on records. By late October, when Von dropped his Welcome to O Block album, he was bigger than he had ever been, and the project debuted at number 13 on Billboard 200. On November 6th, a week after it dropped, he lost his life in Atlanta, and the situation around his passing would generate tons of attention and also cause ripple effects still being seen today. Von was similar to Pop Smoke in the fact that he wasn't a huge star when he passed. He didn't have any platinum records, and his highest debut on Billboard was 13. But after he passed, more and more information continued coming out on him from both people around him and the police. The amount of information coming out basically solidified rumors as facts, stamping his life history as a driller as authentic. Despite the negative nature of what he did, looking purely at the situation objectively, because Von was a drill rapper, the fact that he was really drilling and his music matched his life made people tune into the music even more, comparing what he revealed in songs to what was coming out about him. YouTube was flooded with documentary after documentary, the biggest being a 3-hour Trap Lord Ross deep dive that at the time of this video is at 13 million views. Everything about Von, from his past to his music to his whole persona, was a cohesive story, and whether people had a negative or positive reaction, it caught the attention of millions. Given what drill music represents, Von was the perfect representation, and this has earned him the title of being a drill legend despite barely rapping for 2 years. And to the internet's credit, they've also called out the destruction and pain that Von caused his community to reach that status. Third on this list is XXXtentacion. X is different from Pop Smoke and King Von due to the fact that he was making music longer and had a cult underground following before he blew up. He began rapping in 2014, but he was only in the mainstream spotlight from early 2017 to June of 2018 when he passed. In this short period of time, he dropped major records, experienced extreme growth, and built a strong legacy. In his early career from 2014 to 2016, X built up a cult following in the Florida underground scene, closely tied to the SoundCloud movement. Around January of 2017, while in jail, his career skyrocketed with the viral success of Look at Me, a track that became an anthem for a generation of fans. When X was released later that year, he was a star with thousands of new fans who wanted more songs like Look at Me. But when he released 17, his debut studio album, he went in a completely different direction. The album featured stripped down production and deeply personal lyrics that explored themes like depression and heartbreak. Tracks like Jocelyn Flores and Revenge resonated with fans going through similar experiences, propelling the album to debut at number 2 on Billboard 200. This album was a big risk to X's career, but it paid off, establishing him as someone who would put the music and his artistic expression over everything else, and this created an extremely loyal fan base. He was still in tons of controversy. He had the DV situation with his ex. He was also beefing with several different rappers like Drake, the Migos, and Rob Stone. He got knocked out on stage, and there was all types of chaos around his name. But as time went on, he calmed down. He publicly acknowledged his mistakes and spoke openly about his desire for personal growth. During interviews and social media posts, he discussed his struggles with anger and his efforts to become a better person. He also started engaging in charity work, organizing events for underprivileged youth, and donating to various causes. People continued to drag him for his past and the crazy things he was accused of, but his actions demonstrated a sincere attempt to use his platform for positive change. While he was growing as a person, he was also growing as an artist and continuing to reach new heights. In 2018, he released his second album, which showcased his artistic versatility. The project included a mix of aggressive tracks like 455 and genre-defying hits like Sad and Moonlight. The album debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200, and Sad became a massive hit, eventually earning a multi-platinum certification. By this point, X had cemented his place as one of the most innovative and unpredictable artists in hip-hop. Nobody knew what he would do next, but on June 2018, he tragically lost his life in a robbery outside a motorcycle dealership in Deerfield Beach, Florida, at the young age of 20. By the time X passed, he was a legitimate star, had platinum records, and was able to drop albums that debuted at #1 on Billboard. He had carved out his own niche and style, and the fans had watched him grow from angry, violent, and self-destructive to mature, kind, and philanthropic. He had the numbers, the hit records, the impact on the youth, and the story, and his passing only amplified this, making his legend status undeniable. Similar to X, Juice was making music for around 4 years in total, but his career in the spotlight was only about a year and 7 months, from May of 2018 to December of 2019 when he met his untimely demise. His journey began on SoundCloud in 2015 under the name Juice the Kid, later shortened to Juice Wrld. His introduction to the mainstream came in 2018 with 2 huge songs, Lucid Dreams and All Girls Are the Same. These songs were blowing up on SoundCloud the previous year, and after Juice signed in 2018, with the label behind them, they became platinum hits. That same year, he released his debut album, Goodbye and Good Riddance, which included these 2 hits and debuted at #15 on Billboard. The SoundCloud movement had been popping for 2 to 3 years before Juice, but he was different from any other rapper before him. His ability to freestyle entire songs and blend elements of hip-hop, emo, and pop set him apart as a once-in-a-generation talent. Juice WRLD's meteoric rise continued with high-profile collaborations, giving him an even broader reach. He worked with Future on the joint mixtape Wrld on Drugs, a project that was well received by fans, continuing to show Juice's musical ability. His second studio album, Death Race for Love, debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200 and was more evidence that he would be one of the top stars in his lane of hip-hop for a long time. Tragically, Juice WRLD's life was cut short on December 8th of 2019, just 6 days after his 21st birthday. He suffered a fatal seizure at the Chicago Midway Airport, reportedly triggered by him ODing on pills. His passing shocked the entire music world. Similarly to X, he had the platinum records and Billboard #1 album, so his superstar status was undeniable. Everyone agreed that he had an extremely rare ability when it came to freestyling and making songs on the spot, as well as a unique style in the emo rap genre. He documented his struggles with substance abuse, and his passing wrapped up his story as a type of situation where an artist's demons get the best of them. He also had an extremely strong following and tons of young people who really related with the topics he covered. So combining everything, his unique talent, ability, his struggles, his impact on fans, and his untapped potential at the time of his passing, all of this combined to give him the legend status despite less than 2 years in the public eye. So these are the 4 main names that come up when people talk about rappers in this generation that had an extremely large impact in a very short period of time. In X and Juice's case, they had the accolades and the impact to justify legend status while they were still alive, and their passing just amplified it. And in Pop and Von's case, they had strong stories around their brief careers that were able to capture and impact the masses after they passed. As time goes on, people forget more of the real details, and the stories grow and get more exaggerated. So the legend status of all four will only continue to grow.